Hello my beautiful friends and welcome back to the channel. My name is Becc and today we're going to talk about my own personal story of my emotional reactivity very recently, not in the distant past, but it is a little trap that I fell into. And I think we can all fall into these traps for now and for the rest of our lives. And so I just want to use myself as an example here to show you not only an example of emotional reactivity that you might not be aware of in yourself, and also, of course, a way to climb out of it. Now, this change was inspired by my partner. I'm just thinking as I'm looking at those gorgeous flowers that he got me for Valentine's Day. I was so tired. I was in between two 12-hour shifts and he let me sleep in so he could walk the dog for us, and I just opened my eyes as he was leaving and he put these big vase of flowers beside me. So hats off to him, even though recently, as I'm about to tell you, I've been pretty annoying. So let me tell you about it and how he prompted me to address this emotional reactivity that I was experiencing. And a lot of you guys might be in a very similar position to me in terms of I have been having a bad time on Instagram lately. The world is full of horrors. The horrors just persist. They seem to just get bigger and bigger. Potentially, probably not necessarily what's happening, but in my social media world and with the echo chamber that social media is, I just seem to constantly be getting this outrage-worthy, devastating, heartbreaking news, if you can call it that, but information about all the awful things happening in the world. And I have this very strong social justice drive in my body. I get so upset with unfairness, with unnecessary cruelty, with people in power disregarding and dehumanizing people with less power, and I could go on. But needless to say, for me, that is a very emotionally sparky thing, and maybe it is for you too. And my social media had done the echo chamber thing, and it was just feeding me more and more of these outrageous, hurtful, deeply saddening stories. Now, unintentionally, I would open my social media and I would be fed one of these stories. And over time, it became more and more and more and more. And I'm realizing, I was thinking that the world was just getting worse and worse actually in retrospect, but actually it was probably, or at least largely in part, due to my social media algorithm just continuing to ramp up or direct itself in that direction. And I was being very subconscious about the whole thing. I'd see an article, I would have that spark of the main emotions I identified were devastation and sadness, outrage and righteousness, and this powerlessness to do anything to affect these tragedies and these injustices. And from that emotional place, again, subconsciously, I would seek, or I would react to that emotion by sharing this with my partner. Whether he was in the room with me, I would just blurt out whatever I've seen without any recognition of the context or the mood that we're aiming for or anything like that. Or I would even just share whatever I'd seen with him, whatever article it was, I would share it to him on his social media. And there are a couple of reasons I was doing that, I can see in retrospect. One of them was I wanted him to share my outrage with me. I wanted him to not only validate that this is an outrageous or devastating thing, basically say, you're right, this is terrible, you're right to feel that way, I agree. And also with that, simply venting. I've got that emotional activation in my body, but this energy here, and I want to, shake it off. I want to move the energy through me, and that expression is something that kind of helps you get that quick release. Another thing I identified reflecting on the situation was, I was trying to seek out and get the information from him that he cares about this too, that this is important to him too. These issues are important to me, and as my partner, I wanted to know, like I was probably, kind of testing or exploring a little bit. Do you have the same views? What are your views on this? And with that, really, I probably had an agenda of confirming, yes, he cares about this. Yes, he thinks these are important issues. That's probably what I really wanted. Yes, I agree. This cruelty and this injustice is a terrible thing that I care about. This is an important problem to me. I am with you. We care about the same things. Or even simply, I care about you. Caring about these things, you know what I mean? Because I care about it. I would like for him to care about the fact that I care about it, that it is important to me or that it hurts me. Now, first thing on reflection is, oh my goodness, that is so human. How human of me to want those things. I don't need to judge myself for that automatic subconscious behavior that I went through and the drivers, the reasons behind it. And also, that doesn't mean that I don't want to change it. Because when I looked at the result of me emotionally reacting to these things, he wasn't enjoying the situation. In fact, quite the opposite. He was starting to find it incredibly irritating, probably significantly disruptive, and probably overall just too high frequency for what he wanted in his life. For somebody to be, probably for me, almost every time I open Instagram, to come up with something outrageous or devastating and share that with him. And, in some ways, me just offload that for him or do that kind of reassurance or information seeking from him. That's a lot. And that was just me reacting to my emotions subconsciously. So my main point is here, taking him into consideration here too, and what I want for our relationship, what we want for our relationship, recognize that I wanted to change this. And not just for him and for our relationship, but I also wanted to change it for myself. It's not a place that I want to spend a lot of time in, being outraged and being devastated and feeling powerless. In these areas that are important to me, there's a different way that I can receive the information, and I can be more specific and strategic about information that I can actually do something with, information that I can take action with. It's a difficult line walking between being informed and not letting that information overload stop you from being practical and strategic about what is in your power. So I decided I wanted to become aware of and interrupt this habit. And the first steps that I did, I've sort of already shared with you, which is understanding what was driving this habit, right? There's obviously, the trigger of the information coming to me, but then there was the emotional reaction that occurred in my body, and then recognizing my reaction to that emotional reaction was involving him in the situation. And that's where I decided to intervene on it. I decided, of course, I've tried to spend less time on social media and I could do more to affect my algorithm still. But instead of changing the circumstance, what I focused on changing more is my reaction to the emotion, their reaction to the outrage, to the devastation, to the powerlessness. And that requires me to allow the emotion to be in my body without acting on the impulse that it creates. And I am so capable of doing that. I did it again just this morning when I opened up Instagram for the first time in the morning and I got that outrage in my body. And then I just took that time to allow the emotion. It took less than 15 seconds for me in this case. Even with the emotion of outrage, it took less than 15 seconds for me to turn that to allow it, which is what turns it down, which is what gets rid of that impulse to do something, and then suddenly makes the emotion completely manageable and not something that controls your behavior. So that's what I want to offer to you guys too. Now, you might not be having such extravagant emotions as outrage and devastation that I have been getting from my social media lately, but even if you're just getting impulses to, interrupt somebody or go on social media in the first place, allowing the emotion, first identifying the emotion that's driving it, and then allowing the emotion instead of reacting to the emotion is the most powerful solution. So I wanted to offer that for you today. And I also just want to say before we finish up, this wasn't just a snap my fingers and it's done. It probably took me a week's time span to really get enough awareness and then build that new habit of allowing the emotions, which didn't happen straight away. give yourself a bit of grace in terms of time to decondition what has become a habit for you. And I also found as I went to do this, there were more thoughts that came up in my mind as objections of like, no, but he should really know about this. This thing's really important. This thing he would really want to know, and blah, blah, blah. All these sneaky little reasons that wanted to convince me to keep up that old habit, keep doing the same thing that was the status quo for me at the time. So you've also got to give yourself some room and again, some grace to address those other thoughts that are also getting in your way of changing this habit. Now, with that being said, if you don't know where to start with this, if you don't know how to allow an emotion, if you don't know how to find your thoughts, and you just don't know where to start in terms of interrupting these subconscious cycles, then coaching is the place to be. And you can join us in Dear Darling. If you put an application in, you can ask any questions you have about Dear Darling in your application. I will personally answer them. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you guys in my next one.